Greetings and, of course, welcome to the People's Movement Show. As always, it's a pleasure and it is with much delight that I engage you this evening. As you tune into the broadcast, would you please let me know whether you can see and you can also hear clearly. I am greatly appreciative of the feedback. It helps me to know the quality of the broadcast and, of course, to know whether we are on the same page, as they would say. Tonight is one that promises to be very interesting. And as promised, we are seeking to engage persons from the wider society, but not necessarily those who are governed by some political chokehold. The People's Movement continues to be a group of individuals spread all across the nations of this world who understand the potency of independent thinking. We are very strong in reference to our conviction that we have to be independent thinkers. Although we can be united in an effort of some sort, we must still be able to think for ourselves, and while at the same time we work together. That's important. To those of you who are saints, I bid you shalom, and I welcome you here. We believe in this movement that we must hold elected officials, which are very few, and those who have been selected by those elected. We have to hold you all accountable, because in any public service capacity, those in the House of Assembly, the members of Parliament, they're called constitutional officers. That's all they are. They're public servants who work in reference to the framing of the Constitution and policies therefrom. We hold you all accountable. You're paid by us. And this is important for every Guyanese to understand as clearly as ever. You are paid by us. You are actually servants of the people. You're not governors of us. You're servants of the people. And if Guyanese can begin to understand it on a greater scale, then your days of luxury and bliss may very well be short-lived. You serve us. There have been quite a few incidents in this country. As I would normally say, that with each passing, it seems as though there is something new for the governance systems of this country to present to us, the governing systems. And the government of Guyana is not the PPP civic. Guyana is governed by the people of this country through arms of governance, which include the opposition. And it's important to know that. We therefore believe in the People's Movement that we are empowered as a people to turn the tide in this nation, if only by education and proper information. Turn the tide as to how our nation is being governed. We all have a part to play in this. Now, if you don't mind, please share the broadcast with someone so that they would know that Chow Pow is here. A young man, I seem to be, and he will join us this evening in this discussion. So share the broadcast, let them know he's here. And what I admire about him, whenever I have an opportunity to view his broadcasts, and he normally be there in the mornings, engaging society. He has a passion for this country, for things to be right. And that is what always warms my heart. So with that said, we've got Chow Pow, we've got Brother Raman. Let me present to you first of all Chow Pow, as he's called. And you see that's what he has his name as. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good evening, Pastor. How you doing?
It is well. How are you, my brother?
Not too bad, you know. Still on the road now, going in from the grind. You know, I'm a taxi driver. I provide my services to the people, so sometimes they have me going late, and tonight is one of those nights. You know, and I also had to get cut today, so I'm looking kind of different. There's no mohawk now; it's just a bald head.
Anything works for you, man. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And thanks for
But
doing the job that you've been doing. I know you follow me, and I know you, and you know I follow you as well. I like straight up people. I like people who's bent on, like you were saying, good and fairness, and people who are not scared to say that a green is a green or a pink is a pink, and then deal with the the benefits or consequences that comes with it. So thanks for standing up, man. You've been inspiring me to be more honest with not only with stuff but with my own self in the
all right,
way I
but
see things around me. So thanks a lot for standing up, Pastor.
thank you, my brother. I'm humbled, and I must say that you were one who I will never forget when I was in the square of the revolution. When Frank Anthony and Irfan and others started to tell us that we have to take this shot into our bodies or whatever they call it. And we both understood not just about the consequences of one forcing anyone to do anything, but as you rightly said, if you take a man's job, you take his life. And I would never forget that written on your car. Because even as a driver who offers services, they were seeking to say that you cannot even ply your own trade
Yeah.
unless you comply, which is a very, very serious thing to do to anyone who is privately employed. And I applaud you because you came out there and you expressed your views without fear and without reservation. Come what may, you stood for what you believed in. And then I took note of you more than anything else because you stood like a man when many others and couldn't do what you did. I applaud you highly for that. We joined as
Yeah,
well
man.
by the General Raman. Here he is, and he's the senior man in the room. Because you and I don't think we're on the pensioners list as yet. We're pretty close. But he's here. Welcome, Brother Jenna. And you're here with us with Brother Chao Paulo tonight.
How are you doing, Brother Chao Paulo? Welcome to our show.
Hi, my brother. How you doing?
We are glad to have you because we are the broadest movement in the country. We don't have any problems with anybody who holds any view that that's different from us. So you're free to express, you're free to disagree with us. You, if you're independent, then you will hold your own view and criticize us whatever you feel like. So we don't feel that whatever we are saying should be the right thing, but we will see when you speak.
And that's important to note, Brother Chao, because only today I had a conversation with someone, and I was telling him that the course of the people's movement, and with my being one of those who is really involved in leadership here, is that Guyana has to be built on disagreement in the context that we have too many yes people around. Let's begin here. It doesn't seem as if people are willing in this country any longer, and I'm talking about men as well, to say how they genuinely feel if it's a different viewpoint. Some people lose contracts for it, some people lose opportunities for it, some people lose jobs and all the rest of it. And I do not like an agreeable society because it's unhealthy. What are your thoughts on that and what you see around you? Because you're in the street more than me in Georgetown, so tell us about what things are like there in reference to what I was spoken to.
Well, this is a bit deep, so let me say this, right. A lot of people have been talking about witch hunting. A lot of people have been talking about being marginalized and victimized,
Correct.
and I've been hearing them, and of course, I face some of that because I had a comfortable job at the radio station. It was going good. The programs were building. I used the program to sell gas as a whole, to build our image on the international front through the radio. I never did any kind of politics or seemed to promote any kind of political party on the show. And however, after I think persons realized that I did not supporting a particular team, they actually won, and I was eased off. So I can identify with so many things that people are claiming and are going through. I can identify with them, and I know that there's some level of I don't like to use the word blacklist, but I know for sure that there's some level of blacklist going on, and it's affecting us as or me personally. Let's stick with me personally as a creative person because I'm not getting opportunities now to shout my creativity in terms of entertainment, you know. So it's been tough, and a lot of people are faced with it. But the thing is, I think what you're getting at is a lot of people are standing by and allowing it to happen, seeing it passing in front of their faces, and they're signing on to it because they're scared of losing what they have.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
I think
that's so serious. Sorry, but
yeah,
that's so critical, and it's an interactive program. It's not an interview I have with you, by the way.
yeah,
Discussing as brothers,
yeah. We discussed
because
it. The fear is there. I'm a taxi driver, right? I'm a very popular person. People trust me. I'm go as far to say this. Today I had an experience out of this world. A young man who lives in Albistown wanted a taxi to go home, but the way he was dressed, he had a scarf like it was partially covering his face. He was not, clean. He was doing some kind of job that had him looking, and a little, like a thug then, so to speak. And he wanted the car to go home, but he was actually scared of going to anybody because, of course, he might get turned down. And this man come straight to me and said, "Chow Pow, how much you got by stand?" I said, "By 1,000." He paid me right away to show me he can pay me. And when he come in the car, he said, "Chow Pow, I'm glad you're down this road because I think if I go to anyone and them by them, I think I want to rob them how I look in." Now
wow.
imagine this is the mindset of this young man. This is where I thank me God, because I thank you for putting me into the position so I could be of assistance and of service to this young man.
Healthy.
That was my blessing today, Pastor. You know what I mean? That's me $1,000,000.
And
That's me fine. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I'm glad that you have that kind of mentality, because
Yes.
I don't know you and I or Brother Jen to be men who fear anybody. I was conversing with someone today and speaking to, they're speaking to the culture of Guyana in general. And I said I am yet to find any human being whom I fear. I do not know what it is to fear people. But to see grown men in political offices being afraid to say how they genuinely feel, it's doing a service to manhood in general. And it's very unhealthy. And it's something I believe that we can speak to. But Jen, of course, you can chime in at any point. I want to begin, though, my brother. So, Jen, you may have to mute when we speak. Then I'll start back. Maybe too many microphones. I want to show you and Brother Jen some images, and then you'll speak to this. Let's start off with this right away, because this has a great bearing on what happens in our society. I think we've lost Brother Chao Paulo for a minute there. All right, here John is back. But once you get there, he is. Maybe switching networks. All right. So you're back. Let me show you this. This is reportedly happening in Guyana. On your screen, you're seeing congratulations to Mr. and Mr. Hulas. Two men. And it's a collage I have there, supposedly getting married in Guyana. Before you speak, gentlemen, this is what has me most upset. Look at this image if you can see it clearly. I can mute you from here, but good. Look at that image. A little boy, maybe the ring bearer, I don't know what he is. A little boy in Guyana, South America, is standing before two grown men who claim to be getting married. I have not heard from the religious community on this matter, which is why I brought you here, my brother, so that we can have these conversations. Beyond religious, we Guyanese men. Look at this image and chew on it for me, please.
Like the guy looks a bit like Irfan Ali.
Oh my goodness. Well, he isn't. Most people have said that, but he's not. But look at this. They said this happened in Georgetown, somewhere in Guyana, somewhere. But look what's happening
in Guyana.
Guyana. Of course, it can't be a legal wedding, but the message being sent to us is clearly as ever.
So who's the woman in between them?
She seems to be the officer, the officiant.
It's a Hindu wedding, looks like.
But somebody says one of the guys has been married nephew. I mean, so it's on this.
I can't get. I can't overcome. I can't grasp that, honestly. So you want to go over that again? I don't think I got that. I wasn't paying attention to it. So you're saying that they're in Guyana, they're getting married?
In Guyana, of course, they cannot be legally married, but there is a wedding of sort, a sham, a show wedding of two men involving two men, and this is the image that I was most peeved about, and I called in Child Protection Agency as well, and they yet to deal with this matter. A little child standing before two men in this country who claim to be getting married.
It's illegal. I don't know where we're going to get with that, because the politicians of the ruling us today, they themselves are part of that kind of a behavior, obviously in secret. Homosexuality seems to be the order of the day, and attempts have been made in this country to actually legalize it. Do you know that?
Wow. I'm not hearing you, Pastor. I don't know if you guys are hearing me.
I can hear you. Sorry, I muted my mic. I was saying, when you're not speaking, mute your mic, so there's a feedback in the system.
Oh, great. Oh, all right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So let me see it's coming from you. So viewers, give us some responses, please, so we know whose the feedback is coming from. If we have an interference, it should be clear on my end now. You can hear me, someone, like whenever I indicate or you want to speak, I'll let you in. But I would like to hear from you on this, Brother Chao Paulo. I am. This happened weeks ago, by the way. I did broadcast to this effect. I spoke to it. I called on the religious community. I called on Guyanese men. I called on all parents to see what's happening before your eyes in this country. This is a dangerous precedent being set here. Dangerous. My brother, Chao Paulo, tell us your views on this, please. You have to unmute the mic for me, please. Unmute your mic. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I'm actually surprised that I did not see this on social media. I don't think I and I'm a social media man. I like my Facebook and stuff like that, but I didn't come across this. And if I probably had come across it, I would look real hard to make sure that it's authentic and that it's actually being done in Guyana. Because I am not a guy who's very hasty when I see things like this. This is accepted behavior by many people around the earth. In many areas, this is legal. They see it as no problem. They see it as these people have their right to do what they're doing, and it's being, put out on earth, even to the point where the host country of the recently held football tournament had to say, look, we're not going to encourage this, and they stood firm. So there are those who accept it, and there are those who will never accept it. All right. In my heart, I personally don't have a problem with these people who choose this way of life. These people come across to me as showing me what not to do, and to make sure that I educate my children properly in the right way in which they should go. We will not ever stop these things from happening in our society. It's sad to see they're actually getting married. I don't know if it's by a pastor or an imam or a pandit, or who actually carry out the engagement. But I think that based on my understanding, they might feel some pain for what they're doing. I don't think this behavior is really accepted. We've seen biblical references to the behavior. We've seen the creator of all things, going to the extreme to damage a lot of people for this behavior. And to some people, they take this scripture as Lot's wife look back, because God said, don't look back. If you all look back, something happened. She turned into a pillar of salt. What they're not taking from it is the look back is don't ever go back to this kind of behavior. That is my understanding of that scripture. Not to look back. It's not to look back to see how to die, It's to never return to the behavior. Maybe she returned to the behavior and she gets your punishment for looking back. You understand? So I think, of course, my heart is not accepted by God, this behavior. We all say, Pastor, that if there's anything bothering us, we need to pray about it. And I think, and if you take it to God, we actually believe this in our heart, that He would change things. And so I think if you see a child showing these kind of tendencies, start praying right away and start making sure you're doing the right things and pray him out of his situation, because you will know it's wrong. We are all born knowing that these things are wrong. We feel it within us. Like, for example, nobody have to come and tell me trying to kill my mom. I'm born knowing that, born innately knowing that. And it's the very same thing with this behavior. We born knowing inside that is wrong. We actually feel that is wrong when we see it. But as to
your view on the child, my thing is,
I was coming to them. I was coming to them. I was coming to them. What is happening and how this thing is spreading is as a result of learned behavior. That child is being taught a lot of stuff at whatever altar that was. And it's more than likely in his mind, if these people can do it, it's okay for me to do. It's like the little child who will throw up Shabbat in the air and whine at the party and get applause because guess what? She saw mommy them doing it on a TikTok.
Yeah.
So it's learned behavior. So it's growing through things like that.
Yeah, and Jen, I don't know whether you were speaking to this, but I'm not concerned about what I saw. Most I'm concerned with the fact that this is abnormal again. Every society has norms. All right. And if it's abnormal for us and it's unacceptable on the large scale, then we should not, in my view, tolerate such behaviors in our country because it is unacceptable for the greater part. Just me for me, please, Chao Paulo. It's coming from maybe in the car. So, but Jenna, you can unmute and you can speak. Jenna, you can hear me? My brother, if you can unmute your microphone, please. We'll have some work to do tonight. Because if you're today, they're getting some feedback. So,
yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so tonight we'll be moving through quite a few matters of interest because I wanted the viewers to hear from you, sir, about the Chow Pow. So what are your thoughts? Because you see about Jin and I a lot on the broadcast. So we want to begin, or we've decided we're going to expand the platform, reach out to other Guyanese who don't necessarily share our views, but who have got a mind to speak and to say how they feel. There's another matter that occurred here in Guyana, of course. I'll show you the images. That, of course, is what's left of a shop in Moco Arcadia. And then we have this woman. I don't know whether you're back yet, Brother Chow Pow, but this lady here, look at what she's faced with. All right. And she was, of course, on the ground before that with officers with the knee in her neck and stuff like that. On her back. And there was great contention about what was being done to the people in this nation. What are your views? We hadn't had a chance to share it yet. But Chao Paulo will be back. I think he's having some network issues as usual. But I want to hear from my brother regarding this Moco Arcadia incident. And those of you who've just joined us, we're going through a series of matters in this country that I believe are very critical, that we would like to have discussed. Because, for example, in Guyana, I am severely concerned, genuinely concerned that the little boy will be standing at some wedding. So we have Brother Chow Pow here. The Moco Arcadia incident, my brother, what are your thoughts on it? You have to unmute, as Sarah Hans will be working a lot tonight.
All right. I think this was a problem, and that was just waiting to burst open. Across the country, especially in Georgetown, we have squatters along a lot of lines that that shouldn't have been there. All right. And a lot of people, like what happened in Moco, will certainly come under the pressure to move from the areas. However, I don't think it was done in the right way. I think not much thought was really given into the people, and to also help the people to understand the changes that is going to take place in our country. Life as we know it, Pastor, I think we have to agree with this, will never be the same in Guyana. Will never be the same. Lots of things are changing. People are standing up against a lot of stuff. Um, and people are moving ahead with the changes. And a lot of people who are caught or caught up because the system actually forced them into this situation. This is what the system did. They caught up in it. They're finding a hard time to deal with the situation. The way they deal with the Mocha situation, I think, was very, very bad. It was not pleased to see the guns and the fires and the fights and the knees and the mud and the animals and the it. I think it was a bad look for Guyana. It was definitely a bad look, and those people definitely did not deserve that. They could have been moved in a proper manner. More consideration should have been given for stuff that they've acquired over the years. Proper placement probably could have been had. I think the situation was badly handled, really badly handled. My family is from Moco. My wife is from Moco. We know what people go through. All right, and but this is also indication to a lot of people that wherever you are now, that is not legal land, you need to start paying keen attention because, for example, the people living in Georgetown on the east and west front road area along the trench there, I don't think that they will be allowed to live there for much more longer
No.
because they will need the space and they will have to move. And I'm personally, I'm waiting to see, Pastor, how they're going to deal with
Yeah.
that situation and many other areas like that. It's going to be very interesting. But the president has been set that if you don't move, this is what likely to happen. And so I think this thing is ticking, and we might explode because um we got to get it right. We cannot continue like this, definitely. We have to set things right, but it got to be a good move where everybody benefits. I think we have the money to do it. We have the money to do it, but we
And
need cooperation. I'm not gonna say and stand by and say, well, people should not move, or it's the way it's being handled. But I think we need to understand that for development, like the people on Water Street that sells there, the people around the arcade, there's a building there that is zinced up for years that cannot be built. If that's supposed to be built, all the arcade people will have to be relocated. How are we gonna deal with them? It's a
and
situation that I
yeah,
don't know how they.
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, but there's a reality that we face in this country that has come from culture. And when
yes,
when you create a culture of indiscipline and you create a culture whereby persons are allowed to become accustomed to certain things for long, then
yes,
any sudden movement is dangerous.
yes,
Additionally,
very dangerous. And
yeah,
and
additionally, go
yeah,
ahead.
and if yeah, sorry to cut you, but and so fire is a indication as to what it would be like going forward. So I hope that, well, we know what went on, but I hope that we've learned from the situation. I hope we've learned from the situation, and because
But
we
yeah, but the
sorry.
Marcus situation, brother. I mean, Guyanese use the term a lot, but I don't use the term squatters when I speak to my brothers and sisters, unless it is a land owned by a citizen like you or me, and someone is trespassing more or less. We have rights to it. They applied and they took it. But if it's state land, it's owned by the people. State is people. And when we tag people as squatters in these things and treat them in that manner, it more or less degrades them in society. Many of these people don't have a better thing to do. The people in Moco Arcadia, I was there and I saw their housing would have labeled their houses. They had tags on their house, CC8 and whatever else it is. So they were told, and proof it that they were being regularized. But suddenly they have become an encumbrance. And when I went to check, they were, no, they were about 100 feet away from where the road is passing. The arguments are that there are future developments to be had, and hence they had to be removed. But the argument was that they were in the path of the road, which is I was there. The foreign highway is nowhere where those people were.
You know what's going to be the hurtful thing, Pastor? If they take the lands now and give it to somebody to develop in some other area.
That's why I like talking to you, man. Even when we
That's
off here,
why I'm waiting for, because you see, this, a lot of people, if they don't want to talk for themselves, I can't have them no more. Right? If these things are happening to you, right, and you're quiet, like you're not preventing, I'm gonna use it very strongly here, all right? How do you deal with oppressors and the oppressed? A question was asked. And the answer was, you help them both. And the guy said, well, how are you helping your oppressor? And the answer was, well, you prevent him from oppressing you.
Correct, correct.
It's a very strong statement, because people are saying, yo, present me because I'm got to blow myself up and kill all you. You know, they would think when they come to my faith and my belief, right?
Correct.
But it's not like that. We don't prevent you. We just don't partake in what you're doing. We just don't subscribe to what you're doing. We just don't sign on to what you're doing. We stay away from what you're doing. It's simple as that.
It is, because Guyanese are being tagged as things that make me very, very uncomfortable.
You know something?
Water?
It's been going on for a long time. Let me ask you an honest question. I would ask people, whenever has a public servant been afforded a decent wage? Whenever. I am 57 years old, and I know what whenever. That's why I call it indentureship wages.
That's good. But there was a time when I remembered my teachers in school, and just before they would buy cars way back in the day. Linden is peculiar because the Bauxite Company used to subsidize Mackenzie High School, my alma mater. So their teachers, most of the teachers, they were driving cars and they were living pretty well because they were heavily subsidized. But in many other parts of Guyana, it wasn't happening. And the way that public servants are treated in this country, it is painful to see. And with each passing year, I expect their lives to improve, more so with this 48+% GDP expansion we have, and we are exploding as the wealthiest nation per capita. It doesn't seem as if public servants matter, as if Guyanese in general matter. And I'll show you an image on the screen. Look at this, Brother Chow Pow. This is what it says. People in Moco have to move, right? That's what it said. But look, Guyana offers land to save soil movement. That's the guy who came from the guru. So we offer land to them. We offer land to Barbados. We offer land to whoever wants to come here, take land. But our own people are being kicked off and told you are an encumbrance. I have an issue with that. And I think, by now I speak with passion. I'm not mad at you, but I have an issue with it. I have an issue with it, honestly. Because if you could be giving land away to people who are not from Guyana, what happened to us? How would it become a problem?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Let me get this phone plugged in here.
Your battery is going?
Yeah, hold on.
As Chopper is working there, but generally, remember, you can chime in any point. You're the referee tonight. You can serve as a referee, but we won't fight
Jinder, before Jinder comes in, let me tell you how I deal with this situation with my people, Pastor. Now, I'm of service. I'm a lover of the prophets. Jesus is a big man to me. I call him what you call him. I call him the Messiah because I like you. I don't know what this Jesus, man. They gotta deal with the name there, right? Okay, cool. But his big teaching is serve and not be served. You know the story, right? I come to serve and not be served, right? So in my little business, I serve. This is how I serve his people, by transporting them from one point to the other, do it as safely as possible, and be very reasonable with my charges, because, I've seen the citizens there, they don't work for a lot of money. Yeah, and they're going to minibuses, them my rough. I call them, man, drop take a $200 off the original fare or whatever. That's how I serve,
Right.
But lately, people have been coming and saying to me, man, Chao Pow, they only got X amount of money. And I said, man, well, there's not the fair. There's not senior citizens or anything. This is big, strong people. And they're
Yeah.
working like me and you. So then they start, man, like you see what the government doing to me. So I like, hold on. If the government doing something to you, why would you want to go and put you pressure on me? You gotta go look after yourself, star. A lady, I mean, she actually had a real serious stop because I was very straight. I said, no, Baba, don't come and put me under the pressure. Right now, the service a car is $12,000. We got service every 3 weeks. You
Wow.
know, brake pads and everything gone up sky high. The gas is where it is at. Traffic is so busy. We taking an hour just to do one shot drop for $1,000. It ain't working out. You know, I mean, it's very tough. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm telling you, don't bring your stress up. Those who are treating you, as you say, not paying you properly, you please go and knock on their door and say, could I have a proper payment, please? Because the taxi drivers, they want to come for no limit of money. You understand? Sometimes
Yeah.
I just got put over a little funny and, so, and bring it down to the street so they can understand. If I don't think I should be taking your pressure anymore, we got money, right? Why are we faced with this kind of minimum wage? I would never understand. And I saw one public private sector guy try to break it down as to how much you have
Oh my
at the end of the
goodness.
month if you're working for a little bit of money. Look, I could do a whole comedy session for the past.
That,
And he won't
that,
like me no more. But he don't like me already. It doesn't matter. But why you want to try it? Try living on $90,000 minding two
that's
children.
disrespectful.
Yeah, you try it out. Just last night, my wife called me, hey, man, I feel like eating some chicken. I said, go and barbecue wings. When I left the place, it started $400. Don't spend past I flex, but you know how much drop I have to do for me to 400.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
really tough.
it's rough. And it's a good way for us to look at it. And so when you have people labeled now, of course, low income and poor and this kind of stuff, I have a serious issue with certain labels for Guyanese people because we have way too much wealth for us to be tagging people in that manner. And both the APNFC and PVP do it as like a trophy in the cabinet. You know,
Yeah,
go to a low income house. Now, why don't they live in it? Why aren't they living in them?
it's really hard. I think as a people we need to understand first of all we need to work with the vision of who is in power, whether who, right? We need to work along with them because they cannot do it by themselves and we cannot do it by themselves. They're whether elected, selected, installed, whoever there is, they're there,
Right.
and we would, like me, I would support any good move that is coming out. But to say to us, because we have not stood by you when it was voting time, that we cannot contribute to our society in any meaningful way based on the blessings, our God given blessings, because my blessings is entertainment, you
Right.
know, and I do it in a way that I teach through the entertainment. You can't want me show you on skin, you're going to learn something, right? And that's my blessing, and that's what God gave me to sustain myself. So if you're
What?
trying to take that away from me now, then you're
Yeah.
trying to take away my life, you know?
2 points in entertainment matter. This crazy Ace story, I saw it. It became almost viral. People touring all over the place. This Soca Monarch thing. I don't know whether you give commentary to it, but I heard that it was just ludicrous. It was ridiculous. It was glaring. Of course, opinions matter. In some cases, they don't. But did you speak to that? And if possible, can you share here? Because for me, let me tell you what upset me in that situation. I saw a clip where this said young man, Kwesi, was doing a video appealing to Irfan Ali. And he had said, well, I'm not affiliated with any political party. I just want to apply my trade. And I said, no, this is ridiculous. We should not have artists brought to that place. Why must he have to say he's not affiliated to any political party? So let him get a chance to live, essentially. This is crazy in this country, Brother Chow. Honestly speaking. And because I'm a musician myself and songwriter and stuff, I love the arts. I'm passionate about it. I stopped doing it because of disrespecting it. And honestly, once you can't respect what I do, I really don't take my hands off very quickly. All right. But this matter with this young man, having to go and do a video to say he's not affiliated with, with PNC essentially, and he just wants to ply his trade, and he's suffered at the hands of these judges and stuff. What are your views on that, if you had any?
The first thing that came out of it for me is let me share this with you guys and your audience. Spare me 5 minutes, please.
Not a problem.
Myself and Kwesies, I met Kwesies back in 2007. I hosted a show then called Star Splash Tuesdays, where we featured local upcoming artists. They would come and perform for $1,000, $1,500. The company used to give me $20,000 to do a show, and I used to do it. I would take home $500. I don't mind, because it used to be about giving these artists these opportunities to showcase themselves. And Kwesies was one. He came with 2 songs, and I was, wow, man, you got talent. You make sure you come every Tuesday. Once you there, here, sir, you on the show. So he would come, and we developed a relationship, and we start moving around together. And I got him to perform on shows that he was not even labeled to perform on. Then I actually gave him the name Kwesies. That's how close we are. We performed, we acted together. He wrote a lot of scripts to me. He was my script writer during the 2011 Jingle and Song competition. Brandon Harden won. I was actually the co-producer for that entire 2011 competition, and we built this brotherhood together to the point where brothers are always fighting, and then we fight and fall out. So we get back, we good again, and we understand each other.
Right.
Then we started supporting the coalition by way of our comments on social media.
Okay.
Right. And he's very open, like me and you. He stands up for what he believes in. He's a strong-willed person. He's very confident in his work, and he's very convicted that he's a good artist. And he still went out and do his thing. And we were warned. People said, Tuya should shut up, because if anything happens, you're not going to work. And we were like, hey man, we don't really believe this stuff, but hey, this is our conviction. We go ahead. So Kwesi went ahead. But when things changed, all of a sudden the events are no Kwesi, no Jomo, no Chow Pow. Right? So we decided to hold a show once when COVID was eased off. And we got the clearance to do the show until 12 o'clock. Right? I'm the host of the show. I know how to run the show to make up the time. I think at 10 o'clock, some guys came and said they were sent for us. We need to come, leave the show or else. We left the show because I ain't into no confrontation with nobody. So when I saw this thing leading up, Kwesi now started grabbing attention with the song that he produced. And he started garnering a lot of support. And on the night of the performance, Kwesi was one of the best performers on the night. If you was to ask me, I might have said, no, he might not have won.
Okay.
But not to place him from 1 to 4 was very bad. It was very clear. But what came out of this is Kwesi found out that him and some other artists were on some kind of blacklist, that these names should not be hired to perform on anyway. And it was evident that it was actually true, because you were not seeing these faces.
Correct.
And it's not that we're not good. We're being booked overseas by overseas promoters. I worked more in foreign countries in the past 3 years, more than I worked in Guyana. As a matter of fact, I have not been on stage in Guyana for the past 5 years. The last time we went on stage was uncensored just the other day. And that's because you beg my bad. You understand? We can't do this without you. I said, but by you go to sponsorship, the people see me name the land again, and you say, you don't care. You have to be on the show. And that's how I end up on the show.
Wow.
So when this thing, it brought out more than Kwesi is not doing well enough to place in the final 4. It brought out all this, that there are actually some Guyanese artists who will never be out there because of their political persuasion during the course of the elections. So that was the worst part for me.
What about the one Guyana talk then? I call it nonsense. Honestly, for me, it's foolishness. I with all my heart. What about the one Guyana story?
One Guyana is a beautiful concept. It's actually in place. And I looked at the Mashimani celebrations and did some satire about it. One Guyana was at the Chutney show, and the other Guyana was at the Panorama show. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because you didn't see them two Guyanas unite on the road for Republic Day. You didn't see that.
No.
At one point in time, I thought there's only black people living in this country. Me, I was like, what? This is what going on here. I thought the government don't hire black people. Look, the ministries full up with black people. Come in, see no Indian people in the bands. I said, like, is them ain't getting the work? I make a good laugh off of it. You
You
know?
surely did. And
Yeah, because,
I saw what you said. It was actually funny indeed.
yeah, you know.
And that QCS matter was really wrenching, because I saw a young artist essentially being attacked for something that he had to come out to defend himself about, just
Yeah.
to live, essentially. And that was rough. That's hard.
Yeah, and because you see, Pastor, if I could just think, Quasi comes from the heart, bro. I've been with, look, I get a little teary. I've been with my brother when
Yeah.
people said he cannot be on an event because in the song he sang about one of their people. That brother go through some challenges, bro. I am proud to say today that he is my brother
Well,
because
indeed.
he is strong, bro. I'm telling you, I ain't gonna lie.
Indeed. He has to be. And I trust that he's privy to this, and somehow he can sit with us on the broadcast and just talk, because whenever you have a system in place whereby people have to be quiet in order to live, you are emasculating our men. You're destroying manhood. Men are too strong to be silent in this country. And somebody has to start talking about it.
Pastor, I'm gonna hear another side of me. It's like for your program. It's all who looking at those so much people because I ain't seeing no comments.
Yeah, they're
But
here.
I got two persons in my life that I love bad. The Messiah and Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon them both. And if I love both of them, they stood up for certain things, right? They would never encourage certain things. They would have laid their life down for it. And if I'm going to say and walk and hold me head proudly and proclaim these two guys, whether I choose to allow one God or whoever, that's beside the point.
Correct.
I need to stand up in ways that they would stand up. And I'm going to say this on the 25th of December, when we celebrate this guy's birthday, whether it is right or wrong day, the way it is celebrated with rum drinking and all this madness is a disrespect to the man himself. Right? So my take on a lot of things is very much different. I would stand up because I'm not scared of whether I will eat food or whether I will die. Eating food is guaranteed by the creator of all things to me. Dying is a must for all of it.
All of us.
The way we
Exactly.
need to remember is as we go through this life, is one thing we prepare ourselves for, you know, Pastor, the grave. But a lot of people not preparing themselves for the grave. They're
No.
preparing for some house that somebody can get them, and they're gonna write in the name of whoever or God's gift and all these things. You don't prepare yourself for that, you know. You prepare yourself for the whole. And in the whole, if your good deeds is not enough, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
So why is we going ahead making it rough with the brothers? We must remember that all we're doing for ourselves is creating a harder time for we in the whole that all of we got to go.
And your thoughts and your sentiments are so pure and genuine. That's why I can relate to you. And though we may have varying views in reference to certain matters, that's why I speak to people on this platform about what interests Guyanese across the board. Because we all have to live here essentially. I love this country, which is why I'm
Every
here. All right.
me too.
But there's certain things that are happening that I cannot be quiet about. Honestly speaking, we talk about another before you leave us, and that has to do with this ExxonMobil situation.
Mm-hmm.
It is gut wrenching to see and to hear. I hope I have a video to play it for you. I don't know whether you did. but this came from Glenn Lall's show, but it's actually the words of Irfan Ali himself. I think I have it, but I want you to see it. Okay, yes, here. I'll play it for you. Should be on.
To President Ali last week, now calling the Guyanese people crazy just because we're calling for renegotiation of that lopsided Exxon contract.
So the production sharing agreement has become an obsession for some within our country. The debate over this agreement has unfortunately become lopsided, and for some, obsessive and paranoid. I've said before that the PSA is an inheritance. My government came and met it. We did not sign that agreement. But guess what? We understand that we are obligated to act in good faith in honoring it. We are a responsible government. A country does not turn off when one government comes in and another government comes out. That is why there are consequences of bad government and there are successes of good government. But when you inherit agreements, you have to work with them to the best of your ability. So we have some choices. Or we, in looking at it, you had choices. Very, very elementary choices according to some. Dishonor the agreement and go to court. Plug up the wells, or one party say, no problem. It's not far-fetched. Look around us, our neighbors, about agreements that were not honored, and see the consequences. If you do, you're brilliant at research, brilliant at looking for facts, don't go too far. Look around the region for agreements that were not honored and see the consequences. Write about the consequences. Do you understand the concept of capital flight or investment flight or the loss of national credibility? This is not a humorous matter. This is a serious matter. This is not about capturing a headline or capturing hearts. This is about the life of a country. So,
just a second. That's what was said a few weeks ago when they were commissioning two cranes. This was said before election.
Please listen to Mr. Mohammed Irfan Ali when he was the presidential candidate back in 2019. What he had to say about renegotiation of the Exxon's oil contract signed by Trotman and the coalition.
The oil contract. Do you agree with the 55 billion signed away Global Witness report? And will you revisit the oil contract?
We have made it very clear, but we can never agree. How can, I don't think any Guyanese agree with this. No Guyanese, except the government that is defending it. We have made it very clear that we have to go towards relooking at these contracts, renegotiating these contracts, looking at contract management, and all of these things. Everything we have to relook at, because we have to ensure that our country does not get the wrong end of the stick.
So everything is on the table for review as it relates to oil contracts.
Yes, review and renegotiate.
Oh, we have made.
Speak, my brother. Some things deserve to be addressed.
I let the comedian laugh first. Because I want to know, right? Why Critic can have another interview based and follow up on the same interview he had?
You
Critic is
can't
the
do that.
first person supposed to re-interview the man. I was like, here what boss, man. Come back in this thing, let me you gap. You remember you to tell me now? All right, let me show you the video just in case you forget. All right, now you tell me inherit and you got to accept. You inherit double park, but you don't accept that.
No, exactly.
You put him back the big flag up there, tell. You
No.
ain't no event anymore. You're done with that. There's one thing you don't like inherit by. They don't just pick and choose over inherit like you know, you have to accept them and rob a bitch by because
Right.
inheritance that
He's not inheriting the artist either because I don't see on many platforms either.
oh boy.
My brother.
You know, when it comes to this oil and ExxonMobil and world affairs and geopolitics, you just heard a man say that when you don't stick to the plans or whatever agreements, look what happened to your neighbors. And look
Venezuela.
around you. And I looked at Venezuela. And right away, and you was talking, and I was thinking, because, you know, my brain is run fast sometimes. And I was thinking, he was referring to Venezuela here, right? The same Venezuelan government who sent a nice congratulatory message that said, I hope we return to our relationship as was before 2015, right? Then you saw this government definitely had a beating, but it came from a Republican arm of the United States of America, who put on all the sanctions. And the same people who want to have our waterways and our airways and want to send the Voice of America frequency into Venezuela through Guyana, that Mr. Great Turner said, are we not go out with that because are we got an issue in the ICJ with this piece of land? You know, so we want no trouble. Let the law, you know, he's a man that says so. Let the law take its course. Wherever the court said, do, then I can do waiting for the court. He's a man like that, right? So when all is going on, right? Then we had the big CCJ would tell me that this recount is actually illegal because you can't create a regime within a regime, but we could use the same numbers to put in whoever. And then as soon as they put in a Pompeo come to this country, then he signed something that nobody never asked about up to today.
No.
You know, another secrecy. And next thing you know, the American government changed and the Democrats gone in. Now the Democrats turn and start dealing with Maduro himself. And two of them start turning friends now. And we Escobar deal in finished look after yet. This is one court case that got to take eternity for to find out whether the Escobar going to stay with we or go back by them. You know, so we are now plans. We can't negotiate nothing anymore, right? Because if he try to do the consequences, he's right. The consequences he gonna suffer. As a result, we gonna suffer. So we bind it here. We're in a position that we could only depend on each other, right? But trying to depend on each other, the people are using division to tear we apart, and we playing into it. So we definitely doomed. I don't know how we coming out of this. I really don't know.
I have a challenge relating to any leader demonstrating such weakness on a national level, because ExxonMobil is rightly, as you're saying, they know exactly what's happening in this country. They know how to benefit tremendously from it, and they know that the more Guyana is divided, the better they would. We are in some serious shambles in this country. But Jenna, they want to hear your voice. You're monitoring a conversation. Jenna, you there?
I'm just trying to see whether Chao Paulo agrees with us. Or what if you had a different? You only mute your mic, Chow Pow? Yeah. Okay. Um,
Hold on.
I think
Brother
I
Chow,
think
please.
Chao
Chow
Paulo has come. Brother Chow Paulo has come close to what we are saying, in the sense that um, this country can't proceed unless we have national unity. You know, if you go back to our history, Burnham had nationalized the commanding heights of this economy, and the country had owned 80% of the economy. Burnham nationalized the bauxite industry, the sugar industry, the two main industry, the timber industry, nationalized them, and Guyana became the owner of 80% of the economy. He may have miscalculated in the sense that he may have calculated in the sense that he should have negotiated a better deal. But we learn from these things, just like the Cubans learned afterwards when they were forced to actually nationalize the American companies that were operating in Cuba. But the Cubans have learned from that. I had a discussion with the Cuban ambassador, and they said any new investment in their country that they demand 51% and not everything. Um, I think, to be fair, the um, the opposition against this establishment, the PPP administration, that as Irfan Ali is right when what he said that no Guyanese agrees with this contract. He's right about that. He knows that, and that is why they're trying to find ways of getting out of it. And Jagder's visit to India is an important visit because what he's doing is trying to find other ways in negotiating and bringing in other partners in the business of developing the country. China is already here and participating, and I don't know if China would be willing to break out from the contract that they signed to set a precedent. Um, they might be able to do that. We don't know that, but I think we have to recognize that the work that we do here in trying to highlight other work that other people like Christopher Ram and people like Glenn Lal is doing are important work to educate Guyanese people about things that they didn't know about. And they're becoming more and more. I have not come across any Guyanese who is telling me that let the contract remain as it is. And, there's none that I have met up and down this country. So the establishment, the PPP, is well aware that they are butting on a very sticky wicket, and unless they come to terms to that and tell their masters, you see, politically speaking, the PPP is a prisoner. Jagdeo and Ali are prisoners of American State Department. I don't want to use the word imperialism because people want to know what the hell that is. But they are prisoners of the State Department of the United States of America. And people like Rickford Burke, and I have to call their names because people look at them. Rickford Burke, David Hines, Norman Brown, and what's the other guy name? They have good intentions. They mean well for Guyana, but they're missing a very important point, which we here highlight, and which is that we are not fighting the PPP. The PPP is a prisoner. Jagdeo and Irfan Ali are prisoners of the American imperialism. That's why if you look carefully, Chao Pao, you will see the American ambassador going to important meetings where the president of this country is supposed to be having private discussions with foreigners and and to have private discussions and so on. Why the American ambassador sitting into this meeting? Why is she walking around with him on public events? Go back to the archive and you will see her. And the reason for that is that their their her interest is to protect the interests of the United States of America, which is the oil industry. So so that is why she has to be walking around with them to ensure that they do exactly what they're telling them to do. Even the speeches, when you listen carefully what Irfan Ali is saying, it's pure nonsense, absolute nonsense. For a man who's supposed to be the president of this country, is talking nonsense. Because as you said, Chow Pow, look what's happened to Venezuela. The American called sanction on Venezuela. The United States administration, new administration, is now
relaxing some.
uh,
They relaxed some of the sanctions.
they're relaxing sanction and they're negotiating secretly to buy oil from the United States of America. The question is, Chao Paulo, and our listeners, it is: don't you think that the Americans have billions of barrels of oil stored up in the United States of America?
Yeah.
They do have reserve, but they're not using that reserve. And people need to understand that. Despite the fact that because of the war in between Russia and Ukraine, the price of oil has escalated how many times over? Yet the United States of America is not dipping into their reserve to to ease the cost of living. United States of America, the people of the United States of America are facing a very serious crisis. A very serious crisis. They came out of that lockdown, COVID-19 lockdown, where a lot of businesses were closed down, and then after they're now trying to revive the economy, and they found themselves in a serious crisis of going to supply war, getting involved in a war that they can't win. So we can't discuss these things, and what I'm saying, Chow Pow, we can't discuss these things in isolation. I know you're not doing that because you mentioned about what the Venezuelans are doing, the Americans are doing in Venezuela, and the Guyanese need to understand who are our main enemies in this country. And I'm not defending Jagdeo or Irfan Ali or anybody else. In fact, the reasons why they remove Granger from office was because Granger was the one who exposed all the agreements signed during the PPP time and the one that he signed with that Trotman signed with ExxonMobil when we began to get oil. So Ramjatan and Trotman and all these people are agents of American imperialism. These are not guys. These are not patriots. These are guys who actually sold our country out. I cannot understand how anybody can support the AFC or the PNC, because up to today, Aubrey Norton has not gone on the street protesting. I understand he went to the conference in the Marriott, but with not a sheet of paper to tell anybody in that room where does he stand on this oil thing. Aubrey Norton is behaving just like Corbyn during his whole period of time. Allegedly was collecting $1 million a month from Jagdeo. I said allegedly because I don't have any concrete evidence, but that's what it was. And he said nothing. He was forced to go on marches and demonstration, and until he was pushed right out to the point where he was afraid that he was going to, because there was a battle, if you remember. We can't talk about these things in isolation. The PNC has its own problems, and that they are not going to be able to win any election in the future with this type of leadership that they have. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from? Where are the Guyanese people? They need what is happening in this country. is that we have a serious lack of leadership. We are not putting ourselves up as leaders. Let the people choose whoever they want to be their leaders. And if they ask us, we are willing to come forward. We are not cowards. And we cannot shirk our responsibility if we are asked to give leadership. But those who go and form political parties and put themselves up without people asking them are the ones who are selling out this country. And people
Indeed.
are beginning to see that.
Brother Janet, so Chao Paulo, the senior man has spoken. You can respond to it, of course, because
Well,
it's
as
what
you
you got.
guys know, I'm no politician. I'm just a free thinking and free spoken person. But
Yeah.
I pay attention a lot to stuff, current issues more or less. And as I pay attention to it, I pay attention to some things that come through, and I listen a lot. Now, or when I realized a little more deeper as to what happened is when we had this issue with Vice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the VP responded in a way that says to me that Lyndon Forbes Sam that they were actually going to go through what Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham went through when he stood up and said Guyana belongs to you. Y'all not come here and get anything. And that's why when we start having a hard time getting overseas markets for our products. I was
Yeah.
young enough to understand this. I lived through it. This is when we had to produce or perish thing. You
Yeah.
understand? Because our products was not going anywhere. The markets were cut. Everybody was going through a hard time. But they used that and said, politically to increase the divide, and here we are today. But he acknowledged it, and when he said it, I listened with some big ears, by. And when he said it, I said, wow, I am so happy that he recognized it because this is something he used against this big man. Now
Yeah.
he's faced with it. So I said to myself, yo, why you don't make a comedy thing? Yo, bro, welcome to the club. Now you know that nothing can happen unless them by say it could happen. Because when that vice thing didn't just happen,
No.
that happened strategically. You understand? I look at it because for some strange reason, Pastor, when I was growing up, I loved reading. I read Revolutions. I read Camille's song. But I do some reading. But anything I get me hands on, I would read, bro. Me and my sister, we used to challenge each other. Me and Nigel Hines. Nigel. We used to race to read books. We used to study together. It's just that I fall prey for the damn stupid marijuana and all that madness which broke my whole brain and my whole life. There's another story. So these things are still within me. Don't ever forget certain things.
No.
So once other people are going around with this little thing, I got this background that comes with me when I looking at issues, and I know that we cannot go forward. We can only go as much as they would want us to.
Indeed.
And if they don't like what one particular group or party is doing, so they will get replaced. We don't. One man said it clearly, and I actually agreed him to a point. He said, "We never had a government. We always got a ruling party because that's what
Yeah.
happened,
Never
And
govern
if
yourself.
we could, yeah, where can we stand up? Where can we stand? How can we stand up? Look, you go around Guyana. People secure the houses because they got the wealth. They got wrought iron. They got security dog. They got camera. They got all kind of thing. Tell me over the years, since the departure of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum, how much interest has gone into securing the wealth of our nation? We disbanded things like the Ghana National Service, the
Correct.
People's Militia, who all used to add into our security forces and used to function as our kind of border security.
Patrols. Yeah.
Those they were actually living in those areas being self-sufficient because they plant and they do the thing, and then number was sending the little extras for them in there. But communities were building. When they move all the security fall down. We were not secured in our wealth, not with gold, not with diamond, not with wood, not with nothing. Now, in this case, if Mr. Venezuela decide to walk over, it's me, you got to hold 2 pitchfork and 2 slingshot. Because we're not being secure in our national wealth. We're busy securing our personal wealth. However we gain it. You know? But the national wealth we've not been securing. You know, I read some stuff sometimes. I hear somebody named some terrorist coming get some passport. And on which security that has happened. We have a issue with drugs going into the interior, which is the main airport for interior Ogle. Their baggage scanner out for months. But like me back in the day, we used to hustle. I would be smiling. What? Load up.
Life good then.
Money. You know, you're not securing. You're not securing. Where all these billions come, the biggest budget ever, $4 billion US. How much has gone to buying army equipment and training the Guyanese people in terms of securing their nation? Because you know it's needed at this point. Because the man could come over just now if them are so pleased. What we can do? We can send baby Skello.
Well, you know what the deal is? They have no intentions of securing, of strengthening the army because their dependency is on the U.S. Since Exxon is there, the viewpoint is that, U.S. will protect us because the U.S. has interest. And that, again, shows the extent of weakness that we have. Because Biden doesn't want to fight anybody.
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Jenner. You seem to be into politics a lot. I'm not. I'm very sorry. I'm not a politician. All right. Not never my intentions to be a politician. But my question to you would be this. America's back door is open. And the back door faces us. Right? Which location would you think would be best for an American army base? Would you think it would be Venezuela? Or would you think it would be Guyana?
What are the look? That's a hypothetical question, in the sense that the reality is that the United States of America has got more than 700,000 troops outside of the United States of America and Eastern Europe. You think they have serious problems recruiting people to the army because of the lack of care when people go to war. We are not told these things, you know.
Let me just, if I could, this question is very important. I understand we could go back all there, but right now, in terms of America's security, right, they need a base some part of the Caribbean. You know that. They don't have a base in the Caribbean, right? Which location geographically would suit them best? Would it be one in Venezuela or one in Guyana?
Well, Venezuela is ruled out because there's no way in which they can have a base in Venezuela. It's already ruled. That's ruled out.
Okay.
The Venezuelans will never allow
hold on. Let me run it. You said Venezuela ruled out.
Completely ruled out.
Okay.
Let me just tell you about.
Wait, hold on. We know these people are safe, right?
Okay, but let me just.
We have some kind of influence that says once you allow us to have our base, the Essequibo will go to you. Have you given that?
Once you allow us to have your base, Essequibo, you mean the Americans will tell the Venezuelan that?
Right. That's what saying.
The influence of the decision as to which country owns Venezuela. It could be influenced. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. That's what I was going to say. I understand. I hear what you say.
You hear what I'm saying, right?
Yes. I unlike you, I study politics and economics. That's my subject matter. And as a journalist, I use my political knowledge to express and explain things. The truth of the matter about Venezuela is that the people of Venezuela are armed and trained So there's no way in which the United States of America can land troops there, or they probably have to throw a nuclear bomb in Venezuela to kill the people of Venezuela. But there's no way. You remember the Americans tried 60 times to kill Fidel Castro, and how many times have they tried to invade Cuba? And what happened? Cuba is still standing, and standing taller than you can ever think. And the Cubans have hundreds of thousands of people in Venezuela. This is a reality. It's not hypothetical. The reality is that the Americans know very well. You remember there was an attempt to actually land some American mercenaries there, and what happened to them? Remember recently in Venezuela? They were all destroyed. There is no chance. Venezuela is not going to reverse, and nobody can reverse that process. Just because we don't know what's going on, because we don't have any channels here in this country that tells us about what is going on in Venezuela. Look, the reality of our situation is, and you're right about this, and this is one of the reasons why they got rid of Granger, because he refused to allow the Americans to land, to establish a base here. And he was right. I agree with him. Because if the Americans had a base here, they would have attacked Venezuela, and what would be the consequences of it? Guyana does not have it, would be the total destruction of Guyana, because we do not have the personnel and the ammunition to fight back Venezuela. And even if you were to use the American weapon against Venezuela, the country would have been destroyed. So what is the purpose? Who will win in the end? Just these idiots, like people like Jerry Govaya and these chaps who actually got the Americans here and overthrew the Granger's administration was overthrown. It was overthrown. You can dress it up in whatever language you want to dress it up in. He was brutally overthrown. He was even threatened with his life. They threatened to assassinate Granger. You had agents here who were prepared to do that, just like how they entered Iraq and Libya and all these countries. You know, so this is what we're faced with. The American administration is not a friend of the people of Guyana. They're not. The people of the United States of America are friends of the Guyanese people, but not the ruling class, not those who control the state apparatus and who control the army and the police and so on. They're not. So we have to know who are our friends. The Americans are only here because they have an interest. That word interest. They're defending their interest. That's how they landed troops in Grenada. And Reagan said they were there to protect the interests of the American. What interests that they have? Grenada is an independent control. Countries in the Caribbean, independent countries, they have their own governments, but they wanted to make people like Ravi Dev and them, and what's this guy named Ramsamy and them, wanted to make Guyana the 51st state of the United States of America, and I'm not sure whether that's not the case at the moment, because look at what's happening. We can't sit down, as you said, we cannot sit down together. Aubrey Norton cannot write a letter to Ali, even as a token, to say to him, listen, these are the things that are happening in the country. We need to sit and talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, how many much you want to put. Aubrey Norton gave a brilliant speech in Parliament when he delivered an alternative budget, and up to today, as we speak, not a single person can respond to him. Doesn't he understand that? I had to probe him to do that. I said it publicly, and then he did that. But that was a brilliant thing that he did, and I congratulate him to do that. He still has not gone out there, because how many ordinary people have seen what Aubrey Norton was proposing to do with the 800 and something billion dollars that this administration are going to spend. Half of that money, 388 billion, they allocated for infrastructural work. And I had a confidential discussion today with a very influential person in the PPP, and he told me that a lot of these ministers are running these contracts in the name of other people.
Other people.
You understand? So this is what is going on, and you're right about it, Chao Pow. They want to fill. They have no interest in the country, but themselves come first. Look. We showed, Chao Pow, if you paid the last attention to our last program, we showed how people of Indian descent in Zilat, about 10 minutes away from where I live, they live in squat. They live in the worst condition one can ever live in. And they said they give them house lot. It's a catch-22 situation. They give them house lot, and the people cannot pay the $50,000 for the house lot. The reason why they can't do that, because they don't have work, they don't have a regular income. And so if they can't pay for the house lot, could you imagine where are they going to find the money to build anything on the house lot they give them? And how many people, ask yourself the question, Chow Pow, how many people, what percentage of that kind of people in Guyana need that kind of help? Less than 25%. And if we were to build, look, these guys have no brains on top of their head. They have no interest. They have absolutely no interest in the Guyanese working class and farmers in this country. None whatsoever. And anytime they want to debate, they would never come onto a program like this. You know why? Because we will slaughter them. They cannot answer these questions. One of the reasons why they're upset with Glenlal is only a messenger. The poor guy, all he's doing is reproducing what is happening or what they're saying. A newspaper reports what is going on. A television program reports what is happening, what somebody said. And you heard for yourself when Brother Nigel played what Irfan Ali is saying now, or what he said then. This guy is supposed to be a Muslim, you know. You said that you have a lot of respect for the Prophet Muhammad. And one of the things, if you read the Quran, you will see on a chapter to do with promises. When a man makes a promise, it's a solemn oath, just like in the court of law. If you take an oath and you hold a Bible or anything, or you don't hold anything, but you raise your hand and say, I say the truth and nothing but the truth, right? You don't have to say, to help me God. Just
Right.
say it. And the moment you say that and you're found to be telling the lies, you could be charged for perjury and you could be imprisoned. I wonder how many people understand that. You don't have to wait to go to heaven to be tried. Right here in this country or other countries, if you do that in the United States of America, remember this guy who was Trump lawyer? Didn't he go to jail for telling lies? He lied to the U.S. Congress and he was jailed.
Yeah.
Perjury. So, you know what I mean? So we don't have, the entire system is corrupt.
But Jenna, of course, Chow Pow, forgive me, we went over a 1 hour mark.
It is all right. Because I really want to say, pass on my teeth your time here for truth. Now, some things I agree with you, Jen, and some things I don't. First of all, Guyanese.
Well, that's the beauty about this program.
When we say today that jobs are not available, I don't think that's a true statement. Jobs are available. The reason why they are
no, don't get me wrong. No, I didn't say that.
Immigrants here who are taking jobs. If the Guyanese don't take the jobs and an immigrant takes it, it means that the jobs is available. The Guyanese not going for it. They are jobs.
No, that's a mistake.
Are picking and choosing what they want to do. And the main thing that they're saying is that why Guyana work for that kind of money for us? Not that the jobs are not available. Is the remuneration is not attracting. However, The migrants are coming here, they're taking up the jobs, and daily you see them progressing, and you start to wonder what really happening, right? Are we going through a state where we ain't doing them kind of jobs here, but when we go over to other countries, we're doing the jobs that we don't want to do here? Jobs are available, sir. Many jobs are available. Many jobs. I'm telling you, many jobs are here. We are developing at a fast rate. Construction sites all over the place. We don't even have the kind of people available in Guyana that is needed to push our country forward. We need to import labor right now. You know, it's not a case of job. Well, okay, maybe you might have said jobs are not available, but you did say these people are not getting jobs. They're not going for the jobs. They don't want the jobs. It's
I'm
not
saying
paying
to
for
your
their
brother,
concern.
so
Once
I
they
am
can have
saying
it their way,
I
they're
was
coming to
referring to
all
people
these
who are
excuses.
housing.
I'm in the ghetto, right? I am with them on a regular basis. I could tell you how the man in the street thinks, how he operates. For example, I don't know if a man got any inclination to rob me. That's how deep I in the streets. You understand? I know how we think. I don't bluff and try to butter up people because I want them to like me. And that's sufficient for me. So that's why I say things freely. A lot of people do not want to work. The government is doing what
I
we're doing.
I think that's an
Everybody know
overstatement. You
that
know,
some things happen,
what
but they're
percentage of
providing.
people you
Hold
think?
on, they're providing opportunities. If you don't go and grab the opportunities, don't blame them. Don't
Brother
blame
Ware,
them.
tell me, Chao Paulo, I am in the field every day, all over the country. That's what I do. And I am telling you that these jobs, what they talk, look, they're giving out
If you
this
tell me,
10
sir, that the
days.
jobs,
Let
the
me finish.
remuneration is not
We had
enough,
this,
I will agree with you. If you tell me that the remuneration is not enough, I will definitely agree with you. I will
so why should
definitely
people,
agree with you.
Brother Chao Paulo, why should people go to do something that it is not economical? They have their children to look after. They have the cost of living has gone up. So what is the point? What point does it make to go and work for someone and your remuneration is not there? People don't you would not do some of this job that you want other people to do. I I agree with you that what needs, and I said that today. I said that today to one of the PPP guys, that this nonsense about employing people only for 10 days to go and pick up rubbish on the roadside when you can get the busmen to get them to leave the rubbish in their buses, and when they finish going where they have to go, pick up the rubbish. You don't need people on the West Coast Region 3 or wherever else to go and pick up rubbish on the what you need is to do an audit of all those people who are unemployed, whether it be men or women, old or young. You need to do a skill audit to find out at what level of education. You'll be very surprised the amount of people who are illiterate and semi-illiterate. So what do you do? What this administration has no plans of gainfully employing people. I agree with you that we can have full employment in this country if you have a government, an administration that has the will and the power and the policy and the program to actually employ people. And time doesn't allow us to go into this, but if we had the time, I will explain to you how that can be done. All right.
And before Chopper speaks, if I may, 1 second, Margina, and we have to meet. So let me just address this point. Guyana has an issue with skilled labor. So whenever there's an infrastructural boom, because our nation never had this extent of infrastructural development, we do not have the skill to match the rate of development. So a crisis and a vacuum has been created by a rush in the system. They didn't say, let's hold and let's train as many Guyanese so they'd understand what we're dealing with. They can't wait for that. So they say, okay, what we do, we open the market and whoever wants to build, just build. So you cannot find skilled labor. And I'm a contractor as well in the field and been around them for a long time. And I deal with project management in many cases. So I know exactly the issues here. You have got a flood of infrastructure development and you don't have the skill. So when persons say they are unemployed, they are really unskilled. So they're disqualified. The other problem we have now is that there are menial little tasks around to be done, and persons may not be inclined to do it. Like the average person will say, I'll go and sell air freshener at the stoplight, because again, it speaks to the culture that was created in this country. Venezuelans and Colombians are coming here with a different culture, in that they do whatever it is because their plan is they're going to survive and they're going to acquire money and go somewhere else. We don't have that culture as Guyanese. Our culture is, we either work in an area which we're comfortable, which is what you're skilled to do, or you do nothing and you're taken care of, which is a new culture developing here, whereby we get handouts to eat. And people find it easier. I know some people who are told they have to go to work for 10 days in a whole month and don't want to go. And some of them in Region 6, they're not going because they'll get money anyhow since the PP is in government. That's the kind of mentality you have from these people's lips. So we have a crisis on our hand. And to say the person don't want to work, it has to do with whether they're even qualified to do so and whether they are skilled enough to do so. And when they show up on the job and you're told, no, you're not skilled to be a mason, you could be a laborer. You just fetch block. People say I ain't dealing with this because they never had cause to do it. And it's going to get 10 times worse because we're going to import skilled labor in this country. And Guyanese who even have the skill will no longer be able to work because the skill level we have here in construction can be compared to what will come into this country. Guyanese haven't built any mega structure here to talk about construction. So they'll be knocked out there too. So what we call skill here will become a laborer. Go ahead, Brother Chow. Just want to share that.
We're in a bad shape because whilst we were going through this, we definitely didn't prepare our people for this. The people had too much challenges. We were faced with so much challenges, and one of the things is we just couldn't afford it. I keep saying they boasting about the education system and stuff like that. I keep telling them, tell me when these children graduate to go into high school, right? You have about 16,000 children writing common entrance. In 5 years, there's less than 9,000 children writing CXC. Where are the rest of the children gone? Where are they? They ain't gone through school. Why? Problems at home, money of finance. They go and introduce yourself to also start getting money. You think the money is the most important thing and not the education. We're striving on the buying and selling culture because that was what was developed over the years, buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling. Because if you get the education, like I tell people, you have a university at 10 university. When the children graduate from 10 university, where and what jobs are they getting in the area of Region 6 or wherever? There's no jobs up there for them people qualifications. So the next thing is come to town. You understand? But when they come to town, the frightened town bad because so-and-so's on by Starbuck Market. So what they're doing now is end up in Queens. Right? That's why I got enough empty houses in Barbados, because it's educated people, educated from a university that can't find jobs in the whole area. You got to go back to Guyana or something like that, or form your own business again. So I keep hearing about how we're going forward, and I keep saying, what are we working with? And then still, some people might be getting marginalized, yes, but not everybody. There's a couple of you, really. The rest of the guys still getting the contracts, the rest of the guys still getting the work. They're working under somebody name that's still getting in and doing the thing. You know what I mean? But what has been done over the years to prepare us for this move? Like we never with a dream where they get money for the roads and houses and hotels and be like how we've been using Guyana as just a stepping stone to live until we get the opportunity to go foreign. Yeah. Like that's how it was. Growing up, I had a hard time. Growing up, my dad.
You listen to this. You're gonna joke from this. Today, I went to the regional agricultural meeting. Listen to this carefully. It's a structure of the region, and we had the officers from the different section of the Ministry of Agriculture. and it was a joke that, and I didn't take me on when I asked them. It was a joke how the officers were saying the kind of food that were coming from Brazil. The officers were saying that to the meeting. And the job of the officers was to actually encourage the farmers to plant more so that you can stop the importation of food. This 25% reduction of food by 2025, when is that is going to start? When nothing is being done to actually assist. Look, this is in the heart of the administration, the region agricultural committee. We were discussing with officers, senior officers of the Ministry of Agriculture, and they have no idea, no policy, given a little bit of. When I asked them, the guy who was representing the rice marketing board, the rice development board. I said, do you know that there is a crisis in the rice industry? You know there's a crisis, right? And yeah, and he said he was saying how much rice has reduced because of the weather condition. So they're not catering for that. Then on top of all of that, that the Europeans are rejecting rice coming from Guyana because of the excessive weedicide, insecticide, and fertilizer that are found in the rice.
You sure it's not sanctions?
Huh? What you say?
Not sanctions.
You sure it's not sanctions? Because they never have to be raised before with insecticides and pesticides. When they got a sanction,
Brother Chao Paulo, the world is changing, and we are not adopting to those changes. I mean, we need to have another set of discussion to discuss the failures of successive government. When you examine the period that Mr. Burnham ruled, despite all the criticism that they may have made, we make of him, the fact of the matter is that in every aspect of life in the country, the economy, we didn't have a crisis in the economy caused by maladministration, by policies that were not there. That there were policies in housing, there were policies in education, that you didn't have all these private schools you see establishing under the PPP and the last PPP administration. You didn't have a crisis in health. You didn't have a crisis in transportation. Burnham had buses, public buses. Look at the crisis you have. I had big row with a guy coming in the bus blasting the music, and I had to threaten him and say, look, if you don't stop this music, I am not only going to get out of this bus, but I'm going to call the police and stop you. And then they stopped the noise. All right, but then you had some idiots in the bus, some young idiots who wanted to play the music loud. And if you hear the kind of music that they were playing, Brother Nigel talked about that already. This is the state in which we are living. The kind of culture that is coming from outside of our country, because those kind of music are not made in Guyana. Those lewd music, they're not made here. They come from abroad. So we are investing, and the kind of culture that we have, that we saw before about a man marrying a man. Where do you think that come from? That didn't arrive here. We didn't grow up like that. We didn't grow up like that. So we have to be careful about discussing these matters with our children and so on, as you said earlier. And we don't have that type of discussion. The man doesn't talk to his wife. Most of the time, he finds himself in the rum shop, and when he comes home, he beats her, and then somebody else take over her, and you have him murder and slaughter and so on. That's what we're having, and nobody is taking any interest in.
You see, the thing I think Paul's going to agree with me here, that mankind of late seems to be doing their very utmost best to drift themselves away from the creator of all things. And the more we work at it, is the better we can succeed. And some of us who kind of little focus, I like say that we eyes get open a little bit, you third eye, and we see these things, we can be able to comment and kind of offer suggestions to whoever will hear. If they will not hear, it's up to them. You know, they're not unlike me. Ain't nothing I could do about it and with anybody. The only thing we could do is do what we do and mention it and like roll. Who hears it fall on, it fall on. You see, then we like go. Everybody like saying, many are called, but few are chosen. But still, you don't know who's the many, who's the few. You know. You understand? So you gotta be careful when you're saying these things because you
Well,
already know
the matter,
these
matter,
things
John,
and
Brother Chow Pow,
confuse
you
you know.
can't say that. You can't say that.
I can't say that.
Yeah, because it's like a virus. It's like a virus, and you have to protect yourself. That's why during that period, people were taking vaccines, covering themselves with masks, and all kinds of things. So when we have this type of culture that is developing in this country, we can't say leave it alone. We cannot say that because it's going to come into our houses. And what are we going to do? Your children
Well,
and
I ask a
grandchildren bring
question
them
here.
into your house.
You ever lead
So
it?
what are you telling
You
me?
ever sit down with a group, right? And you and this group planning for the all kind of things. And then if their question, you start leading this group to front. But when you reach the front and you look back, it's you alone
You're the
stand
only
up.
man standing.
You ever experienced that, right?
We all have this experience. Look,
I
you
have
know
went from
the things that Muhammad or Jesus Christ preached thousands of years ago. It didn't happen overnight.
I ain't got
All
it
right,
from the
many
rest of
people
the
were
show.
killed. People had to resist. People who think that these ideas they just came with a platter, they're making a mistake, because those people who developed those ideas, they took thousands of years, and in fact, even people before them that developed these type of ideas, and eventually we had a better society. Things change, and we have to stand up. If we don't stand up, a few of us stand up, we can't make those change. We just cannot give in, and we cannot allow people who got other ideas and want to destroy our society. We cannot allow them. We have to do everything necessary to stop them.
Our brothers.
Yeah. You know, I still
Chapo,
want
you the guest. You can have the final
yeah,
say
man,
because
yeah.
go all night
Just
till
take
midnight.
out talk a little bit. You see,
I'm
um,
glad that you were here.
I am saying this to myself to remind myself that these issues start with self, right? I do it from self. If it's wrong, I call it out.
Right.
If I get the spirit to if I'm in a confrontation and it's where I am right, I stand really strong. It doesn't matter the outcome if it's dead. The change starts with me, right? I do not prosecute myself for anything, and I do my best to follow the teachings of my prophets. What they stand for, I would stand for, right? And I would have no like issue of calling things out the way I see it. A lot of people asked me the other day. I mentioned, Pastor, I think you might have heard about it too, that it was Christians in the street jumping and whining and bearing their body, and everybody. But Chopo, how you know those Christians are said because black people were mainly in the streets, and black people are not Hindus. There
Mainly,
will be
no.
some Muslims out there jumping, but they didn't see no Hindus. So it was Muslims and Christians, but mainly Christians. And they get crucified for it. How you could say something like that? You're attacking. I say, here's something. You know what y'all look like? What it look like to me? Y'all remember when Moses go up in the mountain to come down back? When he
Right.
come back, they
And they're
make a set the
playing.
image, and it's
Oh,
once the dancing, whining, and rum drinking. The same thing y'all do it. You might.
yeah.
Oh, people are
Just like
upset. Yeah, people, and I was like, I don't give a damn
that
because
was the
I'm
truth.
afraid of no ERC calling me to apologize because I would cause them in front of the face. They don't play when I stand up for certain things. You know, we doing wrong, we doing wrong. We doing wrong in so many areas. People going and asking, and I'm going a little deeper. Oh God, help we. But when you look at what you're doing, how you think the man will come and help you when you ain't even helping your own darn self? You're scared for stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
You're scared to die. You're scared. Look, I make a joke at the other day at the culture center, and nobody laughed because the president name was mentioned. You know what I tell them? I said, well, I use some obscenities. You know me, my comedy, right? I said, look at that. Imagine you're afraid for laugh at the joke because you might go to work tomorrow and get fired.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth. And then they start laugh. I said, what are you afraid of? It's comedy if you are coming for waste me, there's not a wake. A comedy show. You come here for a comedy show, you better
Only
check
you,
yourself.
man.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know when we're going to get over it. But the thing starts with self. If you want to see the change, start with yourself. If the minibus drivers want to see a change, start with self. Start don't stopping on the corner. Start don't putting up people in the middle of the road. Start don't overloading your buses. Start don't speeding down the road. Start with yourself.
Very good.
Everybody needs to start with self. The government could do what they're doing. Nothing could do what you're doing. But if you ain't doing them what they're doing, it making no sense. Because if you don't stand up for something, your backside gonna fall for anything.
And
so
everything.
It starts with self. Self is our biggest enemy. We are scared of our own self. How can we, when we hear or we hear so much preachers telling me about what the prophets do, what they stand up for, how much hair didn't get cut out, but today they're probably enjoying themselves. Stand up for oh man, I want to go more deep, Pastor. Because I might sound like I try to preach at the church.
You're pretty close to it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I appreciate it though. And I must say, of course, we planned for 1 hour. We went pretty much over, but I don't mind sharing that time.
I tell you, I know you're done the date. You better send back some money. You'll take collection.
You see, I don't got a one. I'm not among those. I don't take money. But thank you so much. I really appreciate the time we've had. It is always refreshing, even off air when we talk. So I had to have you here, and others will be here. You certainly will to join us again, please, if possible.
Let me say something. You're the first person I accepted an interview or a show like this with. I've been called by thousands. We want your opinion on this. We want your opinion on this, and it's like your platform is going somewhere where I didn't think I support it. I mean, I put my face there, so you understand. But this where it's open, I know that it's people who stand up for a holistic change for everybody with benefit. God's people are people who are beneficial to all mankind. We don't watch race, we don't watch face, we watch mankind, and we are beneficial to all mankind. And this is the group I want to work with. I don't want you to come and work with me and tell me, yo, we gotta look out for you, black brother. Yo, we gotta look out for you. Exactly. I mean, we don't shape up without you got problem with me. I ain't want to hear that at all. If you come and tell me, yo, I send you an invoice, bump it up by 10%, you can get back your invoice without 10%. I'm not doing that.
Thank you very much.
I don't want that. That money, they're not going to do me good. Man. They got me a little car, I'm going to drive.
Right.
So I want to thank you for reaching out, my brother, and you got my support. Right? That I'll come and listen to one of your sermons a day. If you promise me you're coming in my shit.
Take the risk. It's up to you. I can go anywhere.
You got to care for you.
I walk anywhere, anytime, man. But thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you. I appreciate your action as well. You all are so refreshing to all of us. So thanks again. And do well, brothers. Until we meet again. Shalom. Salam.